Good afternoon. This is All India Radio. I am Valsa Williams and with me is Abhishek Mukhopadhyay with the Midday News. The headlines. Campaigning gathers momentum in poll-bound West Bengal and Assam. Prime Minister Narendra Modi addresses rally in East Midnapur, calls for Ashol Poriborton in West Bengal. Election Commission warns violence and unrest will not be tolerated, appeals to vote without fear in West Bengal. No postal ballot facility for overseas electors in upcoming assembly elections, says government in Lok Sabha. Celebration of Holi, Shab-e-Barat, Navratri and other festivals banned at public places in national capital amidst rising COVID-19 cases. Over 5 crore 8 lakh COVID vaccines administered in the country so far. Rajya Sabha takes up discussion on finance bill. India desires to have cordial relations with Pakistan, says Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Supreme Court rejects plea of former Mumbai Police Chief Parambir Singh, asks him to approach Mumbai High Court. Assam Rifles celebrates 186th Racing Day today. And in sports, Aishwarya Thomar wins gold medal in men's 50-meter rifle three positions event at the ISSF World Cup in New Delhi. As the number of COVID cases are on the rise again, we appeal to our listeners not to lower their guard, follow all precautions and all those above 45 years to get vaccinated without any hesitation. Stay safe and protected by following these 3 simple steps. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki doori for social distancing, focus on hand and face hygiene. And now the news in detail. Campaigning has gathered momentum in West Bengal and Assam for the first phase of polling on the 27th of this month. Prime Minister and senior BJP leader Narendra Modi has said that West Bengal needs Ashol Poriborton. Addressing a rally at Kanti of East Midnapur district in the state today in support of party candidates, he claimed that each household of Bengal is reiterating that the Mamata Banerjee government will be changed on the 2nd of May.
Ashol Poriborton aaj Paschim Bengal ki zarurat hai. Sonar Bangla ka shankhnad hota hua har koi yahan sun raha hai. बंगाल के कोने कोने से अब एक ही आवाज आ रही है, 2 मई दीदी जब थे.
The Prime Minister criticized the state government scheme Duare Sarkar. He said the TMC government did not pursue any development work during its tenure. That is why the scheme was launched before the polls. On the other hand, Chief Minister of the state, Trinamool Congress leader Mamata Banerjee alleged that BJP is spreading false propaganda. Addressing a rally at Bishnupur of Bankura district today, she countered the allegations raised by Prime Minister and mentioned the list of welfare schemes implemented by the state government during her tenure. Chief Minister Banerjee criticized the NDA government for rising prices of LPG and also demanded that common people should be provided LPG free of cost. She will address 2 more rallies at Onda and Bankura assembly constituencies. Sanyukta Morcha leaders are also holding rallies and roadshows in support of their candidates. Scrutiny of nomination papers filed for the 4th phase of assembly elections in West Bengal is being conducted today. The nomination process for the 5th phase, which started yesterday, will continue till the 30th of March, and the scrutiny will be undertaken on the 31st of March. The last date for withdrawal of candidature will be the 3rd of April. The nomination process was also initiated simultaneously for by-elections of 2 Lok Sabha seats, including Tirupati in Andhra Pradesh and Belgaum in Karnataka, along with 14 assembly constituencies in 11 states. The assembly constituencies going in for the by-polls include 3 in Rajasthan, 2 in Karnataka and 1 each in Gujarat, Jharkhand, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Mizoram, Nagaland, Odisha, Telangana and Uttarakhand. During the 4th phase of assembly elections, 44 assembly constituencies in West Bengal will go to polls on the 10th of April, while 45 assembly constituencies will go to polls in the 5th phase on the 17th of April. In the poll-bound states, electioneering is gaining momentum. The final scenario of electoral contests has become clear after withdrawal of candidature for the third phase of assembly elections in Assam and West Bengal, and also for the single-phase elections in Kerala and Tamil Nadu, as well as the Union Territory of Puducherry. In Assam and West Bengal, electioneering for the first and second phase of assembly elections is in full swing now.
In Assam, political parties are busy wooing voters in 7 assembly constituencies of Dibrugarh district. The polls for these assembly constituencies will be held in the first phase on the coming of Saturday, the 27th. Both BJP and the Congress have fielded their candidates in these assembly constituencies. A report.
Dibrugarh is native place of present Chief Minister of Assam, Sarbananda Sonowal, and the Union Minister of State for Food Processing, Rameshwar Teli. Therefore, the district is a stronghold of BJP party, and out of these 7 assembly constituencies, BJP won 6 seats in the last election. This time, BJP fielded 6 candidates, excluding Chabua Assembly constituency, where the party alliance AGP fielded a candidate. The Congress party also fielded its candidate in all 7 assembly constituencies. The leader of newly formed Assam Jatiya Parishad, Lurindhati Gogoi, is fighting from Julijan Assembly constituencies against incumbent BJP MLA and Congress candidate. JJ Thoksom, AIR News, Dibrugarh.
In poll-bound Assam, the Ahom Gana Parishad has released election manifesto today promising to implement the Assam Accord. The party, who is in alliance with the BJP, has promised to take steps to mitigate the flood problem if it comes to power. The Ahom Gana Parishad also promised to solve the border disputes with the neighbouring states. The party has announced to take steps for the welfare of senior citizens, youths and women too, if it comes to power. In Tamil Nadu, campaigning for the April 6th single-phase assembly elections to the 234 constituencies has hit a high pitch, with the various political parties in the state making all-out efforts to woo the voters.
Congress leader Rahul Gandhi, DMK leader M.K. Stalin and other leaders of the Allied Front will address an election rally in Salem on 28th of this month. Today, AIADMK Joint Coordinator and Chief Minister Edappadi K. Panichami campaigning in Karur district and the DMK Chief M.K. Stalin campaigning in Salem, Kallakurichi, Viluppuram and Kadalur district. The election code of conduct is being strictly enforced by the election authorities. So far, the flying squads have seized Rs 265 crore worth cash, liquor, drugs, gift and other precious metals without proper documents from various parts of the state. For the convenience of voters, the Tamil Nadu Transport Corporation will operate 14,215 special buses. The buses will be operated from Chennai between April 1 and 5. After polling, special buses will be operated for the voters on return direction on 6th and 7th April. With Joy R. Murthy, AIR News, Chennai.
As Kerala heads to the assembly polls in 13 days, the state is witnessing heated campaigning.
Union Home Minister Amit Shah held a roadshow in Tripunithura as part of NDA campaign. Mr. Shah later addressed a public meeting in Kandirapalli in Kottayam district. He will attend the public gathering at Puttingal in Kollam and a roadshow in Palakkad and will leave for Coimbatore in the evening. Union Minister Prakash Javadekar, who is in Thiruvananthapuram, will release the NDA manifesto today. Senior Congress leader A.K. Antony is in Kerala campaign for UDF. Kerala Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan addressed public gatherings in Pathanamthitta district as part of LDF campaign. Meanwhile, Kerala Chief Electoral Officer Tikaram Meena has directed district collectors to probe the voter discrepancies in the state. The CU has ordered a detailed inquiry into all 140 constituencies following a preliminary probe that uncovered significant discrepancies in the voters list. Mayusha, AIR News, Thiruvananthapuram.
The Election Commission of India has appealed to the people of West Bengal to vote without fear. Addressing a press conference in Siliguri today, Chief Election Commissioner Sunil Arora said directions have been issued to prevent political violence in the state. He said that violence and unrest in the elections will not be tolerated under any circumstances. The Chief Election Commissioner Arora said a large quantity of drugs, cash and other prohibited items have been seized in the state. He said all arrangements have been made for free, fair and peaceful polling. The Chief Election Commissioner said apart from 209 General Assembly observers, 54 police observers have also been deputed in the state. The CEC said instructions have been given to all district electoral officers to ensure adherence to the COVID protocol. The members of the Election Commission of India, headed by the Chief Election Commissioner, are on a 2-day visit to Siliguri since yesterday. The Commission held a meeting with State Chief Secretary Alapon Bandyopadhyay and Director General of Police Neeraj Nayan Pandey this morning and reviewed the election preparations in the state. The Election Commission yesterday held a meeting through a video conference with district electoral officers, senior administrative officers and police officials of districts and discussed various issues regarding elections. The government has said it will not be possible to extend postal ballot facility to overseas electors in the upcoming assembly elections. In a written reply in the Lok Sabha, Union Minister Ravi Shankar Prasad said the matter is still under discussion with the External Affairs Ministry to iron out the logistical challenges involved in the implementation of the proposal. The Election Commission has taken up the proposal to amend the conduct of election rules to facilitate electronically transmitted postal ballot system for overseas electors.
External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar today said government decided not to issue separate passport with orange coloured jacket to ECR passport holders after discussions with stakeholders. In a written reply in the Lok Sabha, Dr. Jaishankar said the ministry had earlier considered issue of passport with orange coloured jacket to passport holders with immigration check required ECR status. However, on receipt of individual and collective representations, Ministry reviewed this decision and decided on January 2018 to not issue any such separate passport. The Minister also said with a view to manufacture e-passports, India's security press Nasik has awarded the contract for procurement of International Civil Aviation Organization compliant electronic contactless inlays along with operating system necessary for chip-enabled e-passports. Issuance of e-passports will commence on the successful completion of the procurement process by ISP Nasik. India continues to keep constant watch on all developments having a bearing on its security and takes all the necessary measures to safeguard its sovereignty and territorial integrity. In a written reply in the Lok Sabha on Chinese construction along the Indo-China border, MOS External Affairs V. Muralidharan said, Government is aware that China is developing infrastructure in the border regions opposite India in Tibet and Xinjiang autonomous regions. Mr. Muralidharan said government gives careful and special attention to improvement of infrastructure for the development of border areas to facilitate the economic development of those areas to meet country's strategic and security requirements. The minister informed in the last few years, government has increased the budgetary allocation for construction of roads and bridges in the border areas.
Civil Aviation Minister Hardeep Singh Puri today introduced the Airports Economic Regulatory Authority of India Amendment Bill 2021 in the Lok Sabha. The bill proposes to amend the definition of major airport so as to extend its scope to determine the tariff for a group of airports. It will encourage development of smaller airports. The government has assured that Eastern and Western dedicated freight corridor will be completed by next year. Replying to supplementaries in the Lok Sabha today, the minister said all the pending works will be completed by the year 2022, when the country will commemorate 75 years of India's independence. Mr. Goyal said the Railways Ministry has planned for induction of 150 pairs of passenger train services through public-private partnership. He said this move will attract investment of 30,000 crore rupees and boost the modernization process of railways. He said loco pilots and guards will be provided by the railways. However, maintenance services will be provided by the private players. He assured that the government is committed to protect the rights of railway workers.
Government is directed for blocking of over 18,800 number of URLs under Section 69A of the IT Act in the last 6 years. Minister of State for Electronics and IT Sanjay Dhotre said in a written reply in the Lok Sabha that a total of 9,849 URLs were blocked in 2020 alone. He said the accounts were blocked on the grounds of public order on the requests received from nodal officers authorized for sending such requests. The minister also said government is taking a number of measures to enhance cyber security and prevent cyber attacks. It has been observed that attackers are compromising computer systems located in different parts of the world and use masquerading techniques and hidden servers to hide the identity of actual systems from which the attacks are being launched. The Lok Sabha has taken up the National Commission for Allied and Healthcare Professionals Bill 2021 for consideration and passing. The bill seeks to regulate and standardize the education and practice of allied and healthcare professionals. The bill has a provision to set up a National Commission for Allied and Healthcare Professions. Under the legislation, a provision has been made that no person is allowed to practice as a qualified allied and healthcare practitioner other than those enrolled in a state register or the national register. Moving the bill, Union Health Minister Dr. Aishwarya said that the legislation will increase employment opportunities for the allied and healthcare professionals and provide dignity to their valuable works.
The Rajya Sabha has taken up discussion on the Finance Bill 2021, suspending the zero hour and question hour. Initiating the discussion, Dipendra Hooda of the Congress alleged that the Indian economy is in a bad shape due to wrong policy of NDA government. He said the policy adopted before COVID-19 has worsened the economic situation during the pandemic. The Congress leader said during COVID period the gap between the poor and the affluent has increased in the country. Mr. Hooda also attacked the government over rising prices of petrol and diesel and criticized the centre for turning a blind eye to the hardships faced by people due to price rise. The Congress leader questioned the centre over the issue of unemployment. Mr. Hooda raised the issue of farmers' protest and questioned the government's claim of doubling farmers' income by 2022. Participating in the discussion, Sushil Modi of BJP complimented the government's decision to not impose any new tax on the people in the budget. Mr. Modi also highlighted several measures taken in the bill to ease the tax burden. Talking about taxes on petrol and diesel, the BJP MP said it is not only the centre which receives taxes, but states also get the money collected from taxes on petroleum products. He also lauded Prime Minister Narendra Modi's leadership in tackling the COVID-19 pandemic. Vijay Sai Reddy of YSR Congress demanded tax exemption for senior citizens, saying in the current budget they have only been exempted from compliance burden. He also questioned disinvestment in PSUs. TKS Elangovan of DMK criticized the government over the state of unemployment in the country. Professor Ram Gopal Yadav of Samajwadi Party said the government has not made any provision in the current tax system to ease the hardship being faced by common men due to COVID-19.
You are listening to the Midday News on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Campaigning gathers momentum in poll-bound West Bengal and Assam. Prime Minister Narendra Modi addresses rally in East Mednipur, calls for Ashol Poriborton in West Bengal. Election Commission warns violence and unrest will not be tolerated, appeals to vote without fear in West Bengal. No postal ballot facility for overseas electors in upcoming assembly elections, says government in Lok Sabha. Celebration of Holi, Shab-e-Barat, Navratri and other festivals banned at public places in the national capital amidst rising COVID-19 cases. Over 5 crore 8 lakh COVID vaccines administered in the country so far. Rajya Sabha takes up the discussion on Finance Bill. India desires to have cordial relations with Pakistan, says Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Supreme Court rejects plea of former Mumbai Police Chief Parambir Singh and asks him to approach Mumbai High Court. Assam Rifles celebrates 186th Racing Day today. And in sports, Aishwarya Thomar wins gold medal in the men's 50-meter rifle 3 positions event at the ISSF World Cup in New Delhi. For quick news updates around the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts.
चलो मिलकर एक शुरुआत करें, चलो एक फैसला आज करें, मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे, चलो एक इरादा करते हैं, चलो कुछ वादा करते हैं, मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे.
Welcome back to the Midday News. 47,262 new COVID-19 cases have been reported in the country in the last 24 hours. With this, the total cases have reached 1,17,34,058. Total recovery tally has touched 1,12,05,160 as 23,907 people recovered from COVID-19 in the last 24 hours. 275 deaths were reported in the last 24 hours and the death toll reached 1,60,441. Active cases now stand at 3,68,457. The Health Ministry said a total of 5,08,41,286 vaccine doses have been administered till now. Maharashtra, Punjab, Karnataka, Chhattisgarh and Gujarat have reported a spike in daily new COVID cases. Union Health Ministry said these states account for 77.44% of the new cases. The ministry said during the last 24 hours, 47,262 new cases were registered. 6 states cumulatively account for 81.65% of the new cases reported in the past 24 hours. Union Additional Secretary Health has written to Chief Secretaries and Administrators of states and union territories and advised them to consider on imposing local restrictions in public observations of Holi, Shab-e-Barat, Bihu, Easter and Eid-ul-Fitr and limit mass gatherings. In her letter, Additional Secretary Health Aarti Ahuja said any laxity at this point in ensuring strict adherence to various SOPs issued by the ministry to contain the spread of COVID-19 may result in losing the impetus and benefits that the country has gained so far in managing the virus.
Delhi administration has banned all celebrations of Holi, Shab-e-Barat, Navratri and other festivals in public places due to rise in COVID cases. The Delhi Disaster Management Authority has directed all district magistrates, police, law enforcement authorities to ensure that the public celebrations and gatherings, congregations during the upcoming festivals shall not be allowed in public places, public grounds, markets and religious places. In its meeting held in New Delhi yesterday, Delhi Disaster Management Authority observed that there has been a persistent rise in COVID cases in Delhi during the last fortnight. In the last 24 hours, Delhi has reported 1,101 fresh COVID-19 cases. Mumbai's civic body has also banned all public and private celebrations of Holi due to rising corona cases. BMC has issued a circular and said that all types of Holi and Rang Panchami celebrations are banned in the city. It said those who are found violating the orders will be booked under Epidemic Act 1897 and National Disaster Management Act 2005. In Maharashtra, more than 180,000 people were inoculated with COVID-19 preventive vaccine in the state yesterday. Meanwhile, in view of the surge in COVID cases, Parbhani district will be placed under lockdown from 7 p.m. today till the 31st of this month. More in this report from a Mumbai correspondent.
Out of 1,89,000 who were vaccinated in the state yesterday, more than 1,30,000 were given jabs of Covishield vaccine, whereas over 55,000 were given Covaxin. Till now, more than 47,80,000 beneficiaries have been inoculated with the COVID-19 preventive vaccines. On the other hand, BMC has issued a circular and said all types of Holi and Ranga Panchami celebrations are banned in the city. It said those who are found violating the orders will be booked under Epidemic Act 1897 and National Disaster Management Act 2005. Kunal Shinde, AIR News, Mumbai.
Amid rapidly rising COVID-19 positive cases in Madhya Pradesh, Indore pledged for wearing of masks under My Mask, My Safety campaign launched in the state yesterday. Chief Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan participated in Indore and made an appeal to the people to wear masks. More from our Bhopal correspondent.
At a program, My Mask, My Safety, organized at Chappan Dukan, Indore, to create awareness on COVID-appropriate behavior, Chief Minister said that if Indore stands up to fight Corona, then Madhya Pradesh too will stand up. He warned that if Corona cases rise in Indore, it will spread to other places also, as Indore is hub of commercial activity. On the occasion, he administered oath to the people that they will wear a mask and follow social distancing. Indore is the cleanest city in the country, but now there is need to make it healthiest city also with the help of campaigns like My Mask, My Safety. The Chief Minister also appealed to the people to celebrate Holi indoors and gave the slogan Meri Holi, Mera Ghar. Pooja Pivardhan, AIR News, Bhopal.
The Supreme Court today rejected the plea filed by former Mumbai Police Chief Parambir Singh against State Home Minister Anil Deshmukh, which sought a Central Bureau of Investigation (CBI) probe in the alleged corruption charges of the minister. The Apex Court has directed Singh to move the Bombay High Court for a CBI probe against Deshmukh, allowing the former Mumbai Police Chief to withdraw his petition. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said that India desires cordial relations with the people of Pakistan, and for this an environment of trust devoid of terror and hostility is imperative. On the occasion of National Day of Pakistan on the 23rd of March yesterday, Prime Minister Modi wrote a letter to Prime Minister of Pakistan Imran Khan on Monday to extend best wishes to the neighbouring country. Prime Minister Modi also conveyed his best wishes to Imran Khan and the people of Pakistan for dealing with the challenges of the COVID-19 pandemic. Home Minister Amit Shah has greeted the Assam Rifles personnel and their families on its 186th Raising Day. In a tweet, Home Minister said the Assam Rifles are the sentinels of the Northeast and India's oldest paramilitary force with a rich history of valor and courage. He said the nation and the countrymen salute their devotion towards protecting the motherland.
Bangladesh is celebrating the historic event of its liberation from Pakistan and the birth centenary of its founding father, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. This year also marks 50 years of the liberation of Bangladesh from Pakistan. Prasar Bharati special correspondent Rajesh Jha spoke to Professor Anu Muhammad. Professor Muhammad speaks about the emergence of the language movement, its absorption into the bigger struggle for Bangla culture and identity, and the present status of the language in the country.
The question of language became the sole issue to bring all the anger and frustration of the people to come to the street. And students were leading in that. It opened up the people's aspiration for their identity, for changes they were aspiring. And they understood that increasingly, day by day, things became clear that Pakistan ruling class totally hostile to Bengalis.
India's Aishwarya Pratap Singh Thomar won the gold medal in the men's 50-meter rifle 3 positions event at the ISSF World Cup in New Delhi on Wednesday. The 20-year-old became the youngest in history to win a shooting World Cup gold in the 3 positions event. Hungary's Istvan Penny took home the silver medal, while Denmark's Stefan Olsen finished third to secure the bronze medal. The 2 other Indian shooters in the final had a disappointing game, with Sanjeev Rajput finishing 6th and Neeraj Kumar coming in at the last position. This is India's 8th gold medal in the ongoing World Cup. India continued to dominate the medal tally with 15 so far. India won 3 silver medals and 4 bronze to go with the 8 gold medals.
Now let us take a look at the weather forecast for today. National capital Delhi is having a partly cloudy sky. The maximum temperature is likely to be 32 degrees Celsius, while it recorded a minimum of 17 degrees. Mumbai sky is clear and maximum temperature may be around 35 degrees, while the minimum was 24 degrees. Chennai is witnessing partly cloudy sky. The temperature will rise up to 34 degrees Celsius, while the minimum was 22 degrees. Kolkata, with partly cloudy sky, is expected to have a maximum temperature of around 37 degrees. The city recorded a minimum temperature of 25 degrees. Srinagar is having thunderstorm with rain. Temperature will hover between 5 and 12 degrees Celsius. Jammu is experiencing generally cloudy sky with light rain, and the temperature will move from 16 to 28 degrees. Leh is witnessing partly cloudy sky and may register a maximum of around 10 degrees Celsius. Minimum temperature was -3 degrees. Gilgit is having generally cloudy sky. The temperature will move from a minimum of 8 to 19 degrees Celsius. Muzaffarabad may have thunderstorm with rain. The maximum temperature will be around 15 degrees Celsius, while a minimum was 8 degrees. Dehradun was partly cloudy. Sky may touch maximum temperature of 26 degrees. Minimum was 12 degrees. And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Campaigning gathers momentum in poll-bound West Bengal and Assam. Prime Minister Narendra Modi addresses rally in East Medinipur, calls for Ashwal Parivartan in West Bengal. Election Commission warns violence and unrest will not be tolerated. Appeals to vote without fear in West Bengal. No postal ballot facility for overseas electors in upcoming assembly elections, says government in Lok Sabha. Celebration of Holi, Shab-e-Barat, Navratri and other festivals banned at public places in national capital amidst rising COVID-19 cases. Over 5 crore 8 lakh COVID vaccines administered in the country so far. Rajya Sabha takes up discussion on finance bill. India desires to have cordial relations with Pakistan, says Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Supreme Court rejects plea of former Mumbai Police Chief Parambir Singh, asks him to approach Mumbai High Court. Assam Rifles celebrates 186th Raising Day today. And in sports, Aishwarya Thomar wins gold medal in men's 50-meter rifle 3 positions event at the ISSF World Cup in New Delhi. For details of these stories and more, log on to our website www.newsonair.com and News on AIR app. And with that, we end the Midday News.